Let's get right in. We were just talking about the biggest comeback, really, statistically, they've had in the NFL with the Giants Broncos yesterday. And we were trying to dissect in the last segment, how does that even happen? Like, what the Giants fans are calling for the coach. So I'm going to start with you, Coach Gruden. Is it the coach's fault this happens? How do you blow that type of lead with 6 minutes? We see so many times. I do believe people always say fans aren't smarter than the coaches, and we critique. I see this prevent defense, prevent you from winning, where teams get a lead, they go back, they allow a guy to get hot. How do you blow a lead like this?
Well, when you look at it, the clock is the only enemy. When you have a 19-point lead, the clock is the only enemy. It's a 3-possession game. So I think you got to go all the way back to the start of the fourth quarter. When you're on offense, you take that clock down to 3 or 4 seconds, starting at the beginning of the fourth quarter. I think there was another occasion on a third down late in the game. They threw an incomplete pass to stop the clock. You left Denver with a timeout. But you have to milk every single second. And when you lose a game like this, the coach is going to be at fault, but there's a lot of people at fault. And they weren't playing a prevent defense the entire fourth quarter. That vaunted pass rush of the New York Giants, they got to take a big responsibility for this, Dave. These are high draft choices. Dexter Lawrence, Thibodeau, you got Brian Burns, you got Abdul Carter. That's what you're here to do. Close this game out. They did not do it. And Sean Payton's a world championship coach, and they played and called the game differently when they were under the gun. They were a lot more aggressive. They had 4 downs to get a first down. The Giants have a lot of people that are at fault today when you blow a lead like that in a game like that.
Greg, you ever been part of anything like that?
No, it was hard for me. I stopped watching it. I was in the airport. I stopped watching it. They just went up 20-0. And then I saw it was like 28-6 to, or whatever, 28. It was 28-0. I get, yeah, 28. Well, I saw it was 28. Yeah, 20-0 and then 28-19, whatever. And I was like, all right, it's over. And then all of a sudden I checked my phone at the airport. I saw that Denver went back up. I put the game back on and watched it on the plane. And then Dart brings them down. They get the PI call. They go down. They take the lead again with 40 seconds or whatever, 50 seconds. And you're like, all right, could have been a catastrophic meltdown. And then they do that. When I saw them line up with 3 down, no timeouts for Denver, first play of the drive, and I saw them line up with 3 downs, I had like crazy flashbacks. I called their game way back early in the year in Dallas, that they had the game won, knowing Brandon Aubrey's got the best leg in the game. They played super soft coverage there, let them complete a pass. I think it was to Ferguson, get around right around midfield, and then he kicked the 64-yarder to force overtime, and they lost. So they've done this now a couple times at the end of the game, and Coach is right, though, like, when you have that big of a lead, you're just doing a math equation about how many possessions your opponent needs. Then you factor in that the Giants actually scored again, which makes the math even that much harder to believe that you give up that lead. You need to milk every second off the play clock. You don't need to go into burn the clock mode on offense, but you do need to work the play clock. They clocked that ball to kick the field goal with 2 seconds left. You know how many plays were run in that fourth quarter to burn 2 seconds? And you win the game. So I think Coach is right about management, players. That's a complete team organizational failure. Kickers, extra points. They went for 2, which cost them, when they were up 19, they went for 2 to make it 21.
You have a problem with that? I didn't have a problem with them going for 2 there.
No, so again, there's a lot of factors. I know a lot of these new analytics, like you want to go for 2 earlier so you know what the game is. You missed an extra point. I think teams sometimes overcorrect. They chase that point. I mean, you make that game 20-0. That point now you tied. So you missed 2 extra points and a 2-point conversion, and you lost by 1.
Yeah,
so you do the math. I mean, it's hard.
My main thing on it, and I disagree, and this is I think teams start, and I don't get it. And Coach said it's like, well, you're down 19 and you start playing aggressive and you can move the football suddenly. It never ceases to amaze me when teams have to start putting points on the board. They start calling plays differently, and suddenly, poof, They start moving the football. And what every fan does, like, well, why weren't you doing that the whole game? It seems like a common sense thing to me. And I think teams start playing the clock. I have no problem bringing the play clock down, but I want to go run, pass. Still pick up first downs and try. And when you go run, pass, it's really hard to pick up first downs in this league.
Oh, no. Yeah. So, coach has called a lot more plays than I have. But just from a player's perspective, at no point, I don't care how much you're up, until you get to the last couple minutes of the game in a multi-score game when they just don't have enough possessions to catch you, that's a different animal. First downs don't matter. You bleed the clock. Whether they get the ball back or not, it doesn't matter. But the entire fourth quarter, no, I'm not suggesting it's run, pass, and after every play you look up at the scoreboard. Just something as simple as don't snap the ball with 10 seconds on the play clock. Don't snap the ball with 12 seconds on the play clock. That's all I'm saying. I don't think you can change your play calling. I think stay aggressive, throw on early downs. Whatever you've been doing, do it. But something as simple as break the huddle with 10 seconds, run up to the line, get set, snap it. That's easy to do. You can do that in middle school football. So that I think they needed to do more. I didn't watch every second of the game to know whether or not they did it on every snap or some snaps, but you're talking 2 seconds you needed to burn out of that entire game and you win.
The flip side of that.
Look at it like this, too. I mean, you're in a four-corner offense. You saw this with North Carolina basketball when Dean Smith was the coach. You get everybody on the sideline. You say, look, we're in the 4-minute drill a little earlier than we thought we'd be, but we're going to stay in bounds. You got to emphasize to your players, stay in bounds. Keep the clock running. If you do throw the ball, high percentage passes. We got to keep the clock running. I saw this in the Super Bowl when Portnoy was doing cartwheels after New England came back to beat Atlanta. They're snapping the ball too early. You got to snap the ball within 4 or 5 seconds. The only enemy is the clock. And let me be honest with you, too. Pressure, guys, pressure impacts people a lot differently. The kicker of the Giants, he felt the pressure. He didn't apply the pressure. I feel like the Giants felt pressure a little bit on defense. They couldn't get a stop. And the only reason you rush 3 guys is you're defending the sidelines. You're keeping them in bounds. You're using extra defenders to keep the ball in play so the clock winds out.
You're a rush 3 guy.
Covered better.
You
just
rush
because
3?
you rush 3 doesn't mean your 3 rushers are sucking their thumb. Hit the quarterback. The guy hits 3 times.
You would rush 3?
I'm not saying I would always rush.
Because they're going to take all those college jobs and start crossing you off the list if you're saying you're rushing 3.
I said there's a place for it. When you have no timeouts and just seconds left, you should never give up a 25-yard play, back-to-back plays, when you got 8 guys in coverage against 4 eligible receivers. No way.
Kirby's got an assistant coaching job for him.
Rushing
I'm not going
3.
to win in this conversation. I know that.
Rushing 3.
There's a lot of people that screwed it up yesterday, not just the coach.
Let me tell you something, Coach. I'm going to give you a little, and you've been doing a long time. I've been watching a long time. Pressure will make you get the football out faster. If you sit there with 3 and let them go downfield, I bet if we had a mathematical nerd who did math, how many teams have blown leads, and you tracked it to how many pass rushers they would have, almost 97% of the time it's rushing 3. Even the Giants guy in the locker room was yelling it when they're walking in. Do we have that clip? He was literally yelling it to nobody. We're dropping 8. He's yelling it walking in. Play that clip if we have it. I guess we. There it is, dropping 8 covered. He's talking directly at you.
You know what? If they'd have played man-to-man and brought 4 or 5 guys and thrown it over somebody's head, you guys would be on here bitching about that. You know, the bottom line is you got to play the defense that's called, and you got to play it with great detail. And the Giants didn't do it. Period. End of story, and they paid for it.
I like watching Greg Olsen's face while Dave Portnoy explains to Jon Gruden how to coach football.
I love it.
Go, Greg.
No, listen, my first reaction when I saw them line up 3 was like, oh no.
Yes.
and now let me just say this. I'm not also of the school of thought where there's only one way to do it, right? It's not you can never rush 3, you only can play zone, you can't play man. I think teams need to do what they do. And when you watch this Giants game, I've only had them once this year, but I've watched pieces of different games. If you say, okay, what is the strength of my defense? With the game on the line, I'm going to lean into the strength of my defense, and that's going to where we're going to hang our hat. And if we lose, we lose. The strength of that defense is the front. The strength of that defense is their four-man rush. The strength of that defense is getting after the quarterback. So with the game on the line, me personally, I'm going to lean into what we do best, which is get the ball out of the quarterback's hand, rally tackle, and get that. And to Coach's point, keep that clock rolling, make them get up. And if they clock it, they clock it. They might have a play or two left. If I'm a coverage team and the best players on my team are my back end and my secondary defenders, and they really play zone concepts well, or they really play man defense, whatever their strengths are, that's going to be my game on the line call. So I'm always of the, when all hell breaks loose, what is the strength of that unit? And I'm going to pin my hopes on that. And if I go down, I'm going to go down swinging with what I do well. I don't think that's what the Giants do. Again, I didn't watch the whole game. I don't think they lined up with 3 down rushers the entire game. I think that was the only snap. So you just played an entire game, and with the most critical moment, the drive starter of a 2-minute drive, number one play of a 2-minute drill, you did something you haven't done all year. That's my bigger issue. Whether it was 3 or 4, it was just out of ordinary.
Yeah, you have the statistics of how many sacks T-Bone, how many times did they sack this Bo Nix in the fourth quarter? How many times did they hit Bo Nix with this vaunted 4-man rush you guys are talking about? I watched them against Dallas, Dave. They had a big lead. They couldn't get anything done, and I watched the tape with this vaunted 4-man rush. When we had Simeon Rice and Sapp, we had no doubt we were going to hit the quarterback and end the day. Watch Micah Parsons yesterday, what he did for Green Bay. He ended the day. That's what you're paid to do. I want to know how many sacks, how many hits they had on Bo Nix in the fourth quarter, because he put together the most historic fourth quarter in history. He threw for 2 and ran for 2. Where were they? I want to hear that stat.
Yeah, well, I'd like to see what defense is. I'm curious what they dominate for three quarters, and they start looking at the clock and play differently. And by the way, Brandon Walker, you should be on the other side. I've said this a million times. Well, I've never played the game, and these guys we got a Hall of Fame coach and a Hall of Fame player, and we got this, and I can't say this. Well, if these executives, all these players are so smart, you tell me, how did the Tennessee Titans fire Mike Vrabel? Somebody who had an NFL job, somebody who's getting paid to be an expert in the NFL, fired a coach who everyone's like, are you nuts firing this guy? And what happened? He walked right across the road to Foxborough, and we're back and we're ready to go. And so I don't buy, oh, well, you're just a fan. We have franchises, the Cleveland Browns, who did win, but you have franchises who can't get out of their own way. So there's morons running these franchises who are paid to be experts in this sport. So what are they? Smarter than me? I mean, they're absolute idiots. Half the league can't win a game. You said it earlier, Brendan. The New York Jets, the Miami Dolphins. We have some of the worst teams in this league we've ever seen. So they're smarter at football than me? No, they're morons.
So, no, the thing is, I actually agree with the point you were making, just the preposterous notion that I am watching Dave Portnoy talk down to Jon Gruden when it comes to coaching football is crazy.
I'm not talking down, but there is a belief.
Also, Gruden,
like
fix your
fans,
collar,
you're a fan. What do you know? I'm in the league. You're just you're working at Joe Burger King. Well, there's a lot of really bad franchises. Everybody who makes a decision with the New York Jets, what are they, stupid?
Yes.
And now to flip it, the Colts. Colts destroy the Chargers. We had a discussion. I elevated them into potential Super Bowl contender list. I added them. We've talked about it every week. That Colts-Chargers game, was that more an endorsement for you guys of the Colts or an indictment of the Chargers? Because the Colts ran them out of that building. 14 points doesn't really tell the story. They could have beaten them by 100. I'll start with you, Coach.
Well, I think the Chargers are not the same team without their 2 starting tackles. They've got some injuries in the backfield. They're not the same team on defense either, Dave. They just don't look like they can create any pass rush consistently. And I'll say this about those yellow uniforms. I would not have come out of the locker room. There's no way you're going to win a championship looking like that. It starts there. That was a horrific look for a football team coached by Coach Harbaugh. But they're getting the quarterback killed. If it's not for Herbert, this team doesn't win a game. I mean, they were lucky to beat Miami last week. They were down by a point or two with 50 seconds left. And if Miami doesn't blow that game, this team has lost 4 straight games. But I think the big story is the Colts. Daniel Jones has come back to life and carried this team. And Shane Steichen, when I watch all these tapes, whatever it's worth, Shane Steichen's as good a play caller and play designer as there is in football. He's done a hell of a job.
Greg?
I agree with especially that last part. I think Shane Steichen's a stud. I felt that way when he was in Philly before he got this job. You know, that he obviously was their coordinator the year they went to the Super Bowl. We covered that with them. Obviously they lost, but like you walked away from talking to him, being in those production meetings, and you walked away saying, okay, this guy's got a pretty good feel of not only X's and O's, not only football, but managing quarterbacks, managing personalities, messaging. I've been impressed with Shane Steichen for a while. He kind of disappeared from the national kind of scene just because the Colts weren't overly competitive the last couple of years. And then obviously the work that he's done, you know, with Daniel Jones, who I've always been, again, I'm biased. He's a Charlotte kid. I've known him for a long time. I've always thought Daniel Jones was better than the product that was going on, you know, in New York. You know, partly his own doing, but also partly just the chaos of what was going on around him. I'm happy that he has gotten there. It kind of reminds me of like a Darnold with Kevin O'Connell type idea where the right player in the right system with the right type of coach that understands which buttons to push and levers to pull, bring out the best. Tyler Warren, that tight end, the rookie tight end, is incredible. I mean, I don't know if is he leading the league, and is he leading the league for tight ends as a rookie? I think he is, right?
Yeah, T-Bone's on.
I think he was as of a week or two ago. But anyway, I mean, he is a flat out stud. He can do a lot in the passing game. He's good enough that they can keep him in the field, keep him on the field in the run game. Obviously, Jonathan Taylor and them. So I think for as good as the Chargers looked early and they've kind of regressed, Coach mentioned all the injuries and whatnot, I think one of the best stories in just the entire NFL is Daniel Jones, Shane Steichen, and the Indianapolis Colts, because I think they're for real.
All right, last topic before we let you go. Shifting gears. This went viral. I haven't had a chance to talk about it yet, but it's my guy, Bill Belichick, again. Now, he's working on a podcast here, and he's in NFL Film Studios, and this goes viral on Friday. Is Jordon calling the shots, dictating what they talk about in the red zone?
Templates that Matt can just plug numbers into. Well, we'll get somebody else to do it.
We could use Adobe Photoshop, and honestly, this is something I've done before with what you're calling a template. Okay, so Adobe Photoshop, and we have last week's thing, and then you literally just go back and say, oh, rather than Joe Montana, you just go click on the delete button, and then type in a new name. It's already formatted. It's already this, and you just upload it. You take a screenshot of that screen and then just upload it, and it takes literally like 3 minutes to do it. I mean, I was able to build out his entire website with animations, with all of these things. I have zero real graphic experience, and he has a live website with all of these things on it. It was just a matter of pressing some things around. It's like, oh well, if we don't like that, we'll just
How long is this clip?
right.
So yeah, we can kill the clip.
It's pretty elementary.
We didn't even get the red zone. Now, I want to start here. I found this clip. I wasn't as crazy as everyone. Oh my God, what's going on? He's being running. He doesn't know first thing about the internet. I was more like, I think this is, if this happened to me, if this was, I'm whispering with somebody in a meeting and it was leaked, this would become priority number one of mine to murder whoever leaked this clip. That would be what I didn't think this was anything that outstanding that it took the internet by storm here. Like, yeah, it's clear Jordon is involved in his life. And by the way, they followed this up, UNC, with their best game of the season. They should have actually beaten Cal. They fumbled going in. What was your guys' reaction? I thought this was a bad rap for Belichick. People are out to get him right now. But who films this? Imagine being in a meeting where you think there wasn't anything that crazy in that clip, and people literally were acting like it was the craziest thing they've ever seen. Greg, start with you.
Yeah, I'll be honest. When I first saw it, and I didn't see that clip, there's a million different clips going around. I saw one about his principles of winning, or something about score touchdowns and don't kick field goals, and she was challenging. That was the clip that I saw. I was kind of disinterested in it. I watched it for 30 seconds and said, this is silly. My takeaway was also, if you filmed every production meeting that I was in, if you filmed every pregame meeting that we're sitting around in the booth kicking out ideas and people are sharing. And I say, I wouldn't want some of that air too, right? You're just brainstorming, you're kicking things into the air. You say things that are wrong, you say things that are right. People are fact checking you. You're trying to get your story straight before you go on air, or in this case, a podcast. Yeah, that's my biggest takeaway. I think there's a lot of people that are creating really interesting content. I just think about it from my own perspective, going on air to prepare to call a game. Coach knows this firsthand. Like, there's a lot of people giving you advice. There's a lot of people that are giving you pointers. I still sometimes don't know how to work the telestrator. And you think I want that film, some tech coming in and teaching me how to update my telestrator? I'd look like a fool. So, like, I don't know. I think it's a lot to do about nothing. I do think he's got a target on his back. I think the college football community, for whatever reason, sees him as an outsider. And it feels like there's just a lot of negative axe to grind against him. I think people have seen him win for a long time. And now in typical society, they like that he's kind of down and they're going to kick him because they haven't been able to do it for 20 years. I think there's a lot of personal and vendetta stuff going on right now against Belichick.
What do you think, Coach?
I liked how Portnoy said they played a great game. They should have won. The Giants should have won. Well, what are you going to do? Security at the end of the game for crying out loud. That should be the whole story. The guy fumbled the ball at the end of the game. They should have won. The Giants should have won if they just compressed their coverage on the freaking wideouts. Anyways, I'm just giving you a hard time.
Me about should have won when I've heard about the snowball every single day since we hired you in the Tucker.
I know it. I get tired of talking about this.
Should have won.
Carolina.
Guess what? We have a Super Bowl ring that says we won. Leave you with that. Should have won. Of all people, I've heard about that snowball game. You stole that. We should have won that one. You didn't win. It's on. We have the Lombardi Trophy. I took pictures with it at the beginning of the season. It launched a dynasty. Should have won. They should have won. Thank you, guys.